Well, hello there, YouTube. It's Petey Two Finger here. Welcome to the living room. Today I'm putting together, I'm going through the process that I call boxing up. So I'm going to be boxing up a fuzz. This is a mjolner. It's spelled M-J-O-L-N-E-R is how it was spelled for this layout, which could be found at the Tag Board Effects forum under the unverified. And I'm here to tell you this is verified. If you're interested in building one of these, I would recommend you putting a 47 microfarad capacitor on the power input. So where you see the 9 volts coming in on the top rail and the negative ground on the bottom rail, you would put the capacitor with the positive lead going to the positive side and the negative side of the capacitor going to the ground, 47 UF. What I did was I put in a pair of sockets, and I wanted to see, well, what does it sound like without the power filter capacitor? And what I found was it was motor boating. It was going pop, 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 pop. Now, if I would have put a buffer in front, oftentimes if you're running into noise issues, oscillation, goofy things, you have to consider, number one, is the circuit in a box, meaning is it properly shielded? Number two, do you have a buffer? Because that can really work magic as far as solving all sorts of RFI or just interference issues. So today we're going to take this circuit, which is just kind of a spider, and it's going to end up inside this pedal chassis. I bought this chassis from Tata. It was like under $10 for a powder coated, which means just a really fancy paint job, and pre-drilled. Now the thing is, when it arrived, my jacks did not fit. They were a little bit big. So you have to check, like I had to drill out I'm going to mount the LED up here. And so the first step is taking each one of your components and dry fitting them. Meaning, okay, well this stop switch here has a little circuit board. And as you can see, this port that they've drilled for the stop switch is kind of really close to the bottom. So is that even going to fit? When we plop this in here, yes, it fits perfectly. There's 1 millimeter of clearance. Now, as these boards are designed, there is a spot on this board for the LED and the current limiting resistor for the LED. So what I'm doing at this point, I'm going to install, this is a 16K. I keep 16s, I got some 7.5s. Depending on the LED you're using, like the ultra bright ones are really popular to use. Those will be clear until you apply power across them. Then you see a color. Blue is the most popular, and what's really popular with DIY pedals is to have a blue ultra bright resistor that is going to melt your retina. You are going to have something very much like a soft boiled egg for an eye. If you turn that pedal on, it is so incredibly bright. It's the experience of being within shouting distance at the sun and having that just melt your cornea. I'm not so hot on having LEDs harm my vision. So, and I'll tell you, when I started, this was my favorite trick to do, was to use way too low of a value of a resistor for the LED. So if someone is recommending that you're using a 4.7K resistor, more than likely that's because they're not using an ultra bright LED. They're using one of the old-timey, old-fashioned LEDs that with a 4.7K resistor, it looks just dandy. That's perfect for it. So here what I have today is not an ultra bright. This is an old-timey LED. It's a yellow LED. And I know you guys are going to be laughing at me so hard. This is a CDO 3500 mAh 3.7 volt lithium ion polymer battery. I removed this battery from something and I soldered in a pair of black and white wires and a 4.7 along with 4.7K current limiting resistor along with a pair of sockets, like transistor sockets. So I can basically pop LEDs in this and they will light up. And then I can actually see what is the LED going to look like. The one that you purchased from Tata. Yeah, there you go. This is a little bit tricky because I soldered wires onto it. And basically you have the LED holder, then there's a plastic piece that the LED goes through. I find that plastic piece, the holes in it, they bend the LED wires in, which makes it unstable. So I take an X-Acto and I cut those, I enlarge them. And then what I do is I have my 3mm leads come out and 90 over hard and then come back up. And then I'll snip them off and solder the appropriate color wire on it, and I'll have, so it's like this. Here's the plastic holder, the LED's down here, and then the LED leads are bent over. And so then I solder in this case I have an orange wire going that way on the hot lead, and then on the negative I have the green wire, and I will put shrink boot on both sides of that, heat shrink tubing, and then I will bend whichever wire is longer, I'll flip that around, and then on that flip I'll take a larger diameter piece of shrink, slip that on there, and then heat that with my lighter, and that what you end up with is this little guy that looks like this. Can you see that? A close up on that. And so this fits really nicely inside the socket. Sits like this. And what I will do is actually put super glue on it, because I find that if I don't, that LED isn't going to stay in there. So that's my procedure for the LED, including I have this little power pack. There's a pair of wires coming off the battery, and inside that wire is a 4.7K resistor. So I'm not going to blow the LED. And you can test it just off a 3.7, but it's really bright, and that kind of is harmful. So I went ahead and cut a little 4.7 in there. Sue me. And right now I have additional wires hooked up to this to a 18650 charger, because I'm going to recharge this. It was kind of getting low. Hey, honey?
Yeah.
Would you mind slap a 30-minute charge on this unit for me, please? Just set the timer. And I'm like getting cotton mouth here. Why don't you give me a WW? So I have went ahead and put the switch PCB on the stop switch, and I've attached the current limiting resistor for the LED, and I've custom cut these wires for the LED so they are like the right length, actually perfect. Now I've got an orange and a black. There's a square pad here. The square pad is negative. So there's an anecdote, there's a code way you can remember. It is, don't panic.